there is a crop of filmmakers right now that we can honestly see going on to become the next Hooper, Romero, you name it. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Hello, everybody out there. Welcome to the Dungeon of Deadly Delights. My name is Robert DiLauro. Thank you so much for joining us again this week. First off, we just want to tell you, last week was our introductory show, and I'm sure you guys felt the same. But we got quite a ton of love for the show, and I'm really excited for that. So I know Deborah, you got some good feedback from it,
right?
Yeah. How about you, Tiff? Anything? Tiffany?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
From my friends that watched it, yeah, they really liked it too.
Oh, cool. Very, very cool. Well, like I said, this is going to be every week, Sunday at 8 p.m. We'll have a new show streaming. Last week, we just had a bit of an introduction when it came to the team, and hopefully you guys have a good beat on who we all are. But this week, we wanted to do something a little more topical, and we wanted to kind of focus on the modern visionaries that can actually become future masters at some point in their career. Now, I know master and things like that are usually a word that's thrown around pretty willy-nilly, but honestly, there is a crop of filmmakers right now that we can honestly see going on to become the next Hooper, Romero, you name it. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. I got quite a few myself, but you know what? Let's start off with you, Tiffany. What's your first on your list for our subject matter for tonight?
I'm gonna go with Chelsea Stardust.
Okay.
She just made her first film, which it's on Hulu's In the Dark.
Mm-hmm.
That was her very first film, and she already has her second film, Satanic Panic, playing in festivals. It's playing at Cinepocalypse this week.
Okay.
So to have her first two films come out at the same time and already be two huge anticipated films, I think is catapulting her into the right direction, and I think she's going to be huge.
And what is it about her necessarily that makes you feel this way? Because I'm not really familiar with her work, and I'm already intrigued. So let the people know why you think that's a good choice for that particular list that we're talking about.
I think it's a good choice because her first film is already on a Hulu series.
Mm-hmm.
Straight away, that's where it started.
Mm-hmm.
Her second one is already getting major positive buzz. And I mean, she started strong and she's continuing strong.
Yeah.
And she just kind of started catching everyone's eye all at once.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to add another woman to that list because, I'm actually happy that we're adding women to the list because there's not a lot of women that are added to these lists. I mean, it's absolutely the truth. One that I've been focusing on for quite some time, since her first feature film came out was Corley. She is a French director. She did a second unit for a couple films before that. But she had her feature Revenge, which is actually on Shudder right now. Which, by the way, guys, if you go to Shudder and download the app, you can actually type in Dungeon and get 33 days of Shudder, which is something we'll talk about later. But Corley did a movie called Revenge. Tiffany, you'd actually seen it, and Deborah, have you seen Revenge yet?
I haven't.
Okay. This is why it's so special, because, you know, you have these crop of films called rape revenge films, and they have, you know, they obviously, you know, leave a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. But I think there was definitely, when it comes to Corley's, the way she tells a story and creates character, there was definitely like a very strong feminist slant to all that. It wasn't just, you know, it wasn't just a rape story for the sake of revenge, or, you know, for the sake of a revenge story. It was unique, and it was special. The way she, you know, the way she did her cinematography, you could tell that she loved all these different, you know, like films that weren't even just horror. Like, she was you know, obviously a fan of the Mad Max series. You know, the way she, you know, shot, you know, sand dunes, and, you know, like, you know, different, you know, I think they filmed in Australia, if I'm not mistaken. So they had a lot of landscapes that were just like, you know, it was just basically sand and dirt and, you know, like all this stuff, but it was all really beautifully shot. And it was almost like, it almost had a superhero slant to it as well, because you see this girl and she's like, you know, she's like, you know, got the, you know, like the heart sunglasses on. She's like, you know, sucking on a lollipop or whatever. And this is what makes these guys like, you know, obviously, you know, attracted to her to do this to her. But, you know, as she goes on in this particular story, she becomes like almost like this like superhero in a way, because she's just like the ultimate survivalist by the time the movie's over. And she gets to, like, you know, she gets out of these like these scrapes that no, you know, living human being ever get out of, you know, like just massive losses of blood, and, you know, but like you're so transfixed into this character. Just the whole thing was just beautifully done. It was, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call it the goriest film I'd ever seen. I mean, it definitely has some pretty heavy gore scenes.
Right.
I think they suit the story, you know, because you really want to see these, you know, you want to see these fuckers get it, obviously, for what they did to her. But I just thought it was, you know, for the time it came out, it was one of the best films I had seen in like 10 years. It's phenomenal. So if you guys have not seen Revenge, definitely go out there and do that. I can't wait to see what she has next.
Maybe we could take a look at that and, you know, watch a couple of the films that we're all talking about this time, and maybe next week then go through and discuss them. I do find it rather interesting how heated people get over the rape revenge films, and I think that would be an interesting topic for us to talk about.
I definitely agree with that. Yeah,
I agree.
I definitely agree with that. I think there's something very very natural, and you know, not to get into it too deeply, but I always thought there was something unique about something like I Spit on Your Grave. You know,
right.
Camille was somebody that I connected with, you know, for quite a few years, you know, and then of course that movie got to that point where it's like, oh God, like it would probably be like watching Friday the 13th: A New Beginning right now, and be like, oh, you know, like I know Deborah, like I don't want to see that happen to her. It's pretty heavy stuff, but I think when it comes to I Spit on Your Grave, there was kind of like a Mother Nature aspect to it. It was basically like, you know, her becoming, you know, kind of like this, you know, like kind of like a goddess on a spiritual level, where, you know, she like you said, there's definitely a lot to talk about when it comes to that particular subgenre. It gets a lot of flack, and I understand why. But what would be one of your choices for
the filmmakers?
Sure.
And one is Vanessa Iona Wright. She is a director. Right now she's done several shorts, but I love the way she tackles the story. She really pulls together brilliantly. She's actually, her film called Rainy Season, which is a creature feature. You know, this couple goes to a cabin, they're warned not to go, and that's because these creatures are out there that are destroying I think it's every few years, these creatures destroy anybody in the cabin on a certain night.
Nice. Very cool.
They don't take heed, and things don't go so well for them, but it was beautifully shot. For 13 Fanboy, we're having a horror convention scene and I'm using her movie as one of our horror booths. And the other one, I wish I had some art from Vanessa, but maybe soon I'll have something. The other one is Clarissa Jacobson, who did Lunch Ladies. And here you can see there's a pie, and if you'll see, there's a human ear in there with a little diamond earring. And then here are other Lunch Ladies. And this is one of my favorite pictures. You see them with their lunch lady aprons and stuff. And this really very cutting edge comedy, dark comedy horror. You know, down to the meat grinder. And, you know, obviously there's human inside of the pie, and they have all these pies that they've made, and then, you know, they didn't mean for the ear to be right there.
Sure.
You know, so no, it's a wonderful film. Everything's done in high key light, which is kind of interesting. You know, you think of a horror movie as having darks and shadows, but it's a wonderful dark comedy. I think, you know, they're wanting to take this to a full-length feature film. It definitely deserves it. It's a brilliant piece, and I'm super excited and anxious to see what else that Vanessa Iona Wright also comes up with. Her rainy season is just so brilliantly done. She's out of Atlanta, and she's out of LA. And it's interesting we all picked women because that was not planned.
No, it was not planned. No.
It just happened. My two favorites right now are these two, and I was like, oh, that's cool. They're both women. And it just, just a coincidence. I didn't try to pick women. It was just happened to be my favorites.
It just, you know what it really boils down to, and this is something else that I wanted to discuss on the show at some point, but you know, I had mentioned before, I think when we had our interview like quite some time ago, that it almost feels like when it comes to women, you know, that are behind the camera in this genre or any kind of filmmaking, it almost feels like when the media, you know, like kind of pays attention to those particular individuals, it's almost like they kind of pat them on the head a little bit. And I don't like that. My whole thing is like, you know, a filmmaker should just be a filmmaker no matter what, you know, chromosome they have. You know what I mean?
Right,
so I'm
exactly.
glad that's changing, but, you know, like we've still got, you know, a road ahead of us, you know, for that.
Right. I always feel weird when somebody invites me to be on the female directors panel.
Yeah.
Not just invite me to be on the directors panel.
I don't like that.
Where I was invited to be on the female one, and yet they had a young male who only did this like 90-second, ridiculously small short on the male panel.
Yeah.
I had no experience, but he was pitted at that table. And I thought, that's not right.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Just opened up and everybody be there. We shouldn't be segregated by our sex.
100%. I am going to change the chromosome, but actually, you know, it's funny you mentioned dark horror comedy because I figured this should get a nod. I don't know if you guys saw this trailer this week. I saw a trailer for a movie called Ready or Not, which is coming from Fox Searchlight. And I completely passed it by simply because I was thinking, oh, great, here we go, another horror film about like a children's game. And but when I watched it, you know, first of all, it stars Samara Weaving, and she's just killing it in the genre right now. And she's actually in Bill and Ted Face the Music. She plays Bill's daughter. So, yeah, so, you know, like, I'm just saying that, like, that particular trailer, you guys, if you've not seen it, like, you know, it definitely, you know, seems like, it, you know, has the gore factors. It's funny as hell. I laughed, like, from a trailer. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was just something I was not expecting from Fox Searchlight. It was, it's pretty awesome trailer. I'm really excited for that movie. I think it comes out in August. It's called Ready or Not.
I was reminiscent of You're Next, I thought. The trailer kind of reminded me of You're Next.
Yes. Yeah. Like You're Next and Cabin in the Woods, because they did mention sort of, and I hope this isn't a spoiler, you know, that because you know how trailers sometimes tend to do that.
I thought it was about 30 seconds too long.
That she was part of a ritual. If they don't kill her, then they all die. So it kind of had this Cabin in the Woods vibe to it, too, to me.
Yes, you are. I did hear that.
Yeah. All right, Tiffany, what's your next person on the list?
I'm gonna be a little cliche here, and I'm gonna say Jordan Peele.
I'm into it. Yeah, for sure. I agree.
I know there's a lot of hate and people, oh, he doesn't make horror. His movies are horror. I haven't seen Us yet, but everything I've heard is great. Get Out, that was horror. I mean, it's
Absolutely
horror.
was.
And people who try to like downplay it and say it's not horror are people who don't want him to be the next horror master. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
I actually think that he is a horror master. I don't think he's one. I think he is one.
I agree. He hit the ground running, and he just keeps going from there.
Right.
And just keeps like elevating his next project and the next level that he goes. And I think that he definitely is a horror master.
Well, you have to look at it this way. I've written a script before, and I've shopped a script before. Okay. And done tons of different drafts and doctoring to that particular script. This individual put a script together, let it sit for like 10 years, went back to it, and ended up not only selling it, but it becoming like a cultural phenomenon, your first movie. And on top of that, you win an Academy Award for Best Screenplay.
Right.
I think he's definitely up there. Then you've got Us, that like just, another like barn burner when it came, to like, its particular box office. It made a little bit, like maybe smaller money than say, like an Avengers Endgame or whatever, but it did very well. And then on top of that, you have, like somebody that said, you know what? I think you have the chops to be the next Rod Serling. So now he's hosting the Twilight Zone. And then he just basically like, he's having his best year right now. He could put his name on anything and people are going to check it out. And that's right. It's phenomenal. That guy blows my mind. I absolutely agree that he is well on his way, if he's not there already, to becoming, somebody that we talk about for 25, 30 some years. We're already going to do that with Get Out anyway, and Us probably.
Right.
So I'm also going to be a little cliche, and I'm going to pick somebody that's a little controversial. Controversial in the fact that a lot of people don't think too fondly of his films. I absolutely love each and every single one for different reasons.
I'm sorry, I missed who you said.
Oh no, I was just saying that I'm picking somebody that's a little controversial. And obviously I love their films for all kinds of different reasons. I'm going to try to take away the fact that, this guy's been one of my heroes since I was like 12 years old. And I've been compared to him many, many times for my life and whatnot and my name. But I'm going to pick Rob Zombie.
But he's already mastered.
See, that's the thing, though. I wanted to get to the point with his career where everybody just kind of agrees that he does great films.
Right.
The thing about Rob Zombie is, like, even though you may not necessarily like a certain film or whatever, you cannot take away from the fact that he has a visual flair. He knows,
absolutely.
He knows what he wants to do. He knows what he wants to present. And usually it's like cursing and hillbillies and all that stuff. But there was one film in particular that really got taken away from him. And I remember sitting there in the theater with my girlfriend, and we were like maybe 2 of like 4 people. And 2 people actually walked out, and it was just her and I, and we looked at each other and we're like, I love this fucking movie. It was Lords of Salem. Lords of Salem is a beautiful film. And you could tell if you look at all the different shots and angles that he used, that he, represented the, the Italian horror genre, giallo, all these different things, all these different aspects, European horror. There was a couple like cringeworthy moments in there, like when it comes to like certain acting, beats or whatever, was chosen. But I think all in all, that's definitely a cult classic that people should pay attention to out of pretty much all of his catalog. But then of course you get into the whole Firefly family and the fact that this guy can make us really like fall in love with some really vile people. That's that's a feat in itself.
Right.
We love the Firefly family for whatever reason. We root for them. He kind of like he's played into our psyche as human beings, and you know, like brought the worst out of us that we didn't even think maybe we had, you know? And that's with a lot of characters, I think, you know, like we do kind of have this ability to root for the villain.
Right.
I just think, I just definitely think he has something that I hope, you know, I mean, there's another example too. I mean, you know, not to shit on him, but Glenn Danzig just came out with a movie. He's a rock and punk guy, comes out with a movie, and people are already calling it like the horror's the next, like The Room or something, like Tommy Wiseau's The Room. So like, you know, it's not an easy transition to go from rock star to filmmaker. And I think Zombie definitely did that with ease, and you can tell he definitely has the chops to have a very long career, which he's already had. Which you know he's already been doing this for like 25 some years. So that's one of my picks. I know it's a little controversial. Somebody's gonna go, "Fuck this guy," but
I would definitely not call it controversial, except for I will argue that we were going to do up and comings, not people who are already there, and I do consider him already a master.
Yeah, well, that's good because a lot of people don't. I think we're kind of like we're in a ship. We're in a ship with a group, but I don't think everybody agrees with this. What about you, Deborah? You have another one for the list?
Oh, no, I told you I had two. Those are the two.
Oh, you just have two? All right. Tiffany, do you have any others?
I only have those two, but you and I discussed one earlier that I agree with, and it was your guy, so I'll let you talk about him.
Okay. Well, it seems like we only have 10
that would be someone else.
Okay. Well, it seems like we only have 10 minutes left in the show, but I wanted to take some time to gush about this guy because I think this is probably, in my opinion, this one probably has like just the best intentions to become a horror master, like that we'll talk about for decades, and that's Mike Flanagan. If you guys aren't familiar with Mike Flanagan, he did Oculus. He did Ouija: Origin of Evil. He also did Haunting of Hill House, which was the series on Netflix based on the Shirley Jackson classic novel. And he's getting ready to release Dr. Sleep, which is the sequel to The Shining. I think this guy is probably like number one on my list, simply because you could tell he has a certain visual flair to everything that he does. He has the ability to, you know, pick, you know, in my opinion, probably some of the best actors for every single film. I mean, pitch perfect. With Haunting of Hill House, you had young cast, which is supposed to be the kids, before they become adults. And, you know, like he just stuck that landing so well because when you watch The Haunting of Hill House, those child actors connect so well to the adult actors in terms of like, you know, facial features and structure and everything. You believe that they are like, you know, like a real family, that, you know, that grew up. Ouija Origin, Ouija, the first Ouija was, you know, I don't like to, you know, shit on art, but it wasn't that good. And the fact that he was able to take a sequel to that and just completely turn it around and make it into something that's, you know, memorable, says a lot. The thing I love most about Flanagan is he takes leaps that a lot of directors wouldn't. When it comes to something like Gerald's Game is, you know, like in many respects is a classic of Stephen King's, but it was a very, very difficult book to read because you basically just have a woman in a bed talking to herself, you know, and, you know, I don't think anybody would have that ability to be able to take that story and make it into like really, honestly, a masterful film. Like if you
really give the credit to that film to the lead actress. She was just, you know, there wasn't a moment that you really doubted that she's in this horrific situation. And everything
Carla Gugino is somebody that he used for The Haunting of Hill House. So they've worked together before. You know, Kate Siegel is his wife, and she also did Hush. She wrote Hush, and he directed that one.
Hush is a brilliant film.
They're like just those two alone are a powerhouse. You know, they've made things that are just amazing. in our, in the independent genre. And then of course, with Netflix, when Netflix's Haunting of Hill House, he kind of became this cultural phenomenon.
Right.
I just think he's daring, he's brave. And on top of that, you have this guy doing a sequel to The Shining, and everybody's thinking like, oh, he's just going to take clips from the old movie and put them in this new film. But he actually went back above and beyond. If you go back to that trailer, you could see that he reshot and recreated every single one of those shots from Stanley Kubrick's
Right.
From the, from Danny on the little tricycle, to the twins in the hallway, to room 237. All that stuff is brand new. I think, except for I think the elevator with the blood pouring out of it. I think that's the only shot he didn't do.
Right.
He is just he's just a marvel to me. I mean, every single movie. I don't think if anybody's a fan of Mike Flanagan, there's not really a film that we could say is garbage or not artful or not because even something like we were talking about it before, like Oculus had a great story, and that really made me aside from being a Doctor Who fan, that made and of course she became Nebula in the Marvel movies and whatnot, starting with Guardians of the Galaxy, but Karen Gillan, who he cast in Oculus, that was probably one of her best performances ever.
Right.
And so I don't know. Do you have anything to add to that, Tiffany? Because I know you know a bit about Flanagan.
I thought Hush was fantastic. Every time somebody asks me to recommend something for them on Netflix, I think that's the first thing that I go to is Hush. Yeah. I really enjoyed Oculus. I know a lot of people didn't. I thought it was great. Gerald's Game is a book that I've tried to read several times and can't get through it, but the film was just has you on edge, and she definitely carried that movie.
Yeah.
And did it very well.
I agree.
And that one's just great. I haven't seen The Haunting of Hill House yet. But I am super excited for Dr. Sleep. The Shining is one of my favorites, and I cannot wait to see I haven't read the book, so I don't know anything about it, and I just can't wait to see it.
But honestly, nobody was expecting Dr. Sleep, to actually have, you could put Dr. Sleep ;Shining 2, nobody was expecting that. We were just expecting an offshoot of, the book. He was probably going to follow the book. But the fact that he actually went with the Kubrick story, not only just, shows him shining as a horror fan that loves this genre for sure, 100%, but, it's just, it's respectful. Because even though Steve didn't necessarily like the original Shining, I mean, it's a masterpiece. Let's face it. Stanley Kubrick's The Shining is one of the best, not even horror films, but best films ever made.
Yeah.
That's my number one pick for that list.
Fantastic.
All right, guys. Is there anything we should talk about before we get off of here? Or?
I think we're good, unless you have another question.
Well, let's ask you how 13 Fanboys going. How I know you're working hard on that.
It's going crazy right at the moment. Our first bit of shooting starting in July, and I'm working very hard with Nora Hewitt. She's a master special effects artist. She's actually Tom Savini's protege.
She's amazing.
Some of you may know she won the 9th season of Face Off, which is where the special effects artist competed. The best of the best competed, and she won the 9th season. And so we're working on some kills I think you guys are going to love. So we're excited.
Well, speaking of Tom,
super talented.
Yes, I know. She really is.
And she's really super nice too, so that's awesome.
I have been enjoying her so much.
Here's the thing about that, guys, and I don't want to put her on the spot, but to our audience, when Deborah starts filming 13 Fanboys, she's going to do a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff, and we're actually going to be incorporating a lot of that into the show. But for right now, I just want to thank you guys. Thank you for joining us. Tune in next week for the Dungeon of Deadly Delights. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Take care. Bye.